And now I'll take this opportunity to introduce our guest speaker. Our guest speaker today on how to interview for a job in person and online is no other than distinguished Toastmaster Carrie Webster. I met Carrie Webster when I was in the as an area director, division director, and finance manager. So Carrie is very, very focused on Toastmaster. She used to be our club coach at one time, and she's very, very have her sights in there. But other to that, Carrie is also an HR professional and she hires people within the IT support area or something to do with IT. I maybe not get it correctly, but Carrie is in the best position to help us all with this topic. So without further ado, please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Carrie Webster on how to interview for a job in person or online. How to interview for a job in person or online, Carrie Webster. Carrie,
And
the virtual floor is all yours.
Carrie, before you start, I've sent a link to vote for favorite table topic speaker into chat. So please check that out. And if you don't have access to it, send me a private message in chat. Elton will hopefully gather up the votes for me in person and let me know through WhatsApp. Thank you. Over to you, Carrie.
Awesome. Can everyone hear me online?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Okay, awesome. Hey everyone who's online and in person. I do want to say for the online people, I can't see you super well. So anyway, we'll have a more interactive segment at the end, but I just wanted to set that expectation. Okay, I'm gonna be talking about something that I love talking about, which is interviewing. I truly do love talking about this because I think there's not enough people that talk about it. People are not inherently trained on how to interview, and that's really why I'm here today. This is our agenda for today. It's gonna go by fast, but I'm gonna try to arm you with enough information that you need to excel at your next interview and hopefully get a job offer and hopefully accept it. So this is our agenda for today. I'm gonna do a bit of an introduction of myself. I know I had a bit of one from BB, but I'm gonna give you more information about who I am, why I'm qualified to talk on this topic. I'm gonna talk about what to do before, during, and after your interview. I'm gonna talk a little bit about networking because I do think that's something that's really important to talk about, even though it's not directly related to interviews. I'll give you some more information about myself, staying in touch. And at the end, I want to try to reserve 5 to 10 minutes out of the 30 minutes for Q&A. So please, online, in person, as I'm going along, please think of questions because I do really want to get some time to answer some questions today. I find this is a really valuable segment for people to get their questions answered. So I want to introduce a little bit more about who I am. So here's my Toastmasters background. I've been a member of a corporate club. It's actually just down the street in Liberty Village for 8 years. I have completed 2 pathways, I should say 2+. I'm on my 3rd and 4th pathway at this point in time. I've held various Toastmasters leadership roles in my club, VP of Education, president. Within the district, I've held area director, division director, conference chair, a lot of leadership roles, but it's been really fun. And I think a few years ago now, I achieved my Distinguished Toastmaster designation. So this is a little bit more about who I am. And I will say, I think Toastmasters has changed my life and is, again, incredibly relevant to interviewing as well. So what about my career background? Why am I actually qualified to be here in front of you today talking to you about interviewing? I am currently a senior talent advisor / recruiter, same sort of thing, at SoftChoice. SoftChoice is a B2B technology company. Again, literally down the road for those who are in person. I walked over here right after work. It was very convenient. So I work at SoftChoice. I've been in recruitment since about 2020 now, so I have 5 years of recruiting experience. And in total, I've completed thousands of interviews for roles spanning various areas within corporate. So sales, customer success, finance, marketing, HR, all across the board. I will say I have not done really technical recruiting, but I've done a lot of other areas of recruitment. So I have a lot of experience under my belt within this area. So now I want to pivot to what you want to be thinking about before the interview. What are those things that you need to be doing? And here's the thing, you should be preparing for every single interview that you are a part of. Even if it's just a quick chat with a recruiter, that is 100% an interview. Even if they don't explicitly say it is, you are being evaluated in that conversation. So doing research ahead of time is absolutely critical. And there's a few different areas where you want to think about doing research. First of all, you want to make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date. Do you have to fill in every single field that LinkedIn recommends? No. But at a bare minimum, you should have a photo, you should have a headline, all your work experience should be there with bullet points explaining it a bit more in depth. Again, a lot of this you can copy and paste from your resume. There's not necessarily anything special you need to do, but it is really, really, really important that you update your LinkedIn profile, because I will tell you, there are recruiters, there are hiring managers, they will 100% be looking at your LinkedIn profile ahead of speaking with you. I will say I don't always look at LinkedIn profiles because I tend to have a lot more interviews in my day than a hiring manager would. But I will tell you right now that hiring managers 100% are going to be looking at your LinkedIn profile, especially if you're in that corporate space. What's really important is to research in a few different areas. So on the first side, you want to make sure to research your interviewer, whoever that may be. So that could be a recruiter, look them up on LinkedIn. Again, they should have a LinkedIn 100% if they're in recruiting. If you're speaking to a hiring manager, if you're speaking to anyone else on the team, you should be looking them up on LinkedIn ahead of time to make sure you are aware who they are, how long have they been at the company, have they switched companies, are they brand new? Like, you want this context going into the conversation. So research your interviewers. I will tell you, I have heard sometimes negative feedback about candidates because they did not do research on their interviewer. And it really, really doesn't look good on you. So just take 10 minutes, look at the person on LinkedIn. So that's really, really important. Also, make sure you research the company. There are so many ways to do this nowadays. You can go on their LinkedIn page. You can go on blogs. Maybe they have a podcast. You can look at their financials if they're public. Look at their website. This is my company's website, Soft Choice there, but go to the company website. I didn't put a thing here, but we have AI now. You can use AI for research. I love using AI for research, to be very honest with you. What does this company do? How do they make money? All these sorts of things you can find out through AI, your favorite AI tool. You do really want to understand, whether you're in a sales role or not, it is really important to understand what outcomes is the organization driving, how are they serving their customers, what customers do they have. Maybe you don't need to know specifics, you may not find that online, but what outcomes is the organization driving and how does the company make money? These things are important for you to know ahead of the conversation. Something else that I'm finding is becoming more critical over time is, what are the company values and culture? And I ask every single candidate I speak to, I say, hey, what's important to you? And I more and more hear culture and values. So really make sure that you look up the company values and culture. And maybe you can bring that up in the conversation to kind of show you've done some research, but you really want to make sure that it aligns with your values as much as possible. So I have some LinkedIn quick tips. I put this in here because, again, LinkedIn is so critical, especially if you're in the corporate space and trying to get a job there. So I wanted to throw this in to give you just kind of some high level understanding. So like I said, ensure you have a professional photo. Update your LinkedIn headline so it's SEO optimized. So that could be maybe what role you're looking for. That could be the roles you've had in the past, whatever you want to do around that. But, you know, having that kind of, because that's what people see right when they go to your profile. So really making sure your headline is optimized is helpful. Ensure you fill in your about section with some more information about who you are. I already mentioned this, but ensure your work experience is added, including details on job duties. I will tell you right now, job titles are all over the map. They are insane, the amount of job titles that every company uses. So you want to make sure to actually break down what you did in that role. There's a career break feature in LinkedIn. If you don't know about that, you can look at it after. There's one, like, I'm trying to think of all the options. There's a lot of options. For example, taking care of a family member, you know, traveling, like doing school. Like, you can actually put career breaks in there, so you're kind of proactively answering questions that somebody might have about you. Include volunteer work. If you have Toastmasters related volunteering, 100% put that in there. There's a volunteer section. I have that in my profile if you look at it, for Toastmasters volunteering, and that is incredibly relevant experience. I will tell you, I have brought up Toastmasters leadership roles in interviews that I have been in personally for roles I've been applying to. So this is something that's really important. And if you are bilingual, if you speak multiple languages, put that in there. There's an area where you can put what languages you speak and then at what level. So are you fully bilingual? Is it entry? Is it kind of intermediate? Because I will tell you, I hire for bilingual roles, and people that don't put that in their profile, you can miss out on opportunities. So that is really critical as well. Practice makes perfect. We have heard this tonight already. It's such a big aspect of interviewing, first of all, but it's also huge for Toastmasters. Toastmasters is all about practice makes perfect, right? Table topics is a piece of that where you can keep practicing, you can get better at it over time. First, what I recommend is write out answers to common interview questions. And again, you can go online. Let's say you're interviewing for a sales role. You can just Google, or again, use AI, whatever you want to do, and just say, hey, what are 30 sales interview questions? And I would get answers ready to go for all of them. And is that going to take a lot of time? Yes, it is. But what that means is you're going to be prepared for that interview. You're going to have a lot of examples to draw on, that sort of thing. Practice your answers out loud, because realistically, that's what you're doing in an interview. You're not writing down the answers. So practice your interviews out loud, and as a bonus, record yourself. Do you need to record video? I mean, you can do that if you want, but even just audio, just record yourself, because you want to be able to listen back and say, okay, was that coherent? Did that make sense? Is there any way I can make that better? So when you record yourself, you get way more information than not without doing that. Become a Toastmasters member. We have some guests here today. I will tell you right now, Toastmasters will 100% help you in interviews. 100%. It will help you just in general confidence, but when I think of table topics, that is exactly related to interviewing, because you're getting questions, you don't know exactly what you're going to be asked. You're kind of on the spot. I mean, hopefully you've done some prep, but you're on the spot and you have to come up with something coherent to say in that moment. So Toastmasters is incredibly relevant to interviewing. And I will tell you, I've interviewed some people that maybe didn't have really solid communication skills, and I've actually recommended Toastmasters to them after the fact. You better believe it. You better believe it. I've been in Toastmasters almost 10 years. You better believe I'm talking about it to other people. Another thing you can do this with a friend, a colleague, it doesn't really matter who, but do a mock interview. Just, again, get a list of 30 questions and say, hey, I want you to pick 10 random questions from here. Ask me, I'm going to answer. And then you're kind of in that sort of, it's a mock environment, but it's still going to mirror the environment that you'll be in the interview. So keep that in mind. During the interview, there are things you want to be thinking about here. Interviews are 100% anxiety inducing. And here's the thing. I think if you had zero stress ahead of an interview, I'd be a little worried. You want to have some level of anxiety, because that means you care about it. You kind of want the job. But the more you prepare, the better off you're going to be. That's what you have to remember. Ensure you understand the mode of interview. It could be phone interview, video, in person. If you're not sure how to use the platform, try to do some testing ahead of time so you don't waste too much time going through that piece. I unfortunately have seen where there's tech issues that happen, and sometimes things just happen. But I've actually, in some cases, had to reschedule interviews because of tech challenges. So the more you can test it ahead of time, please do. And something that's really, really important is you want to be your authentic self as much as you can be. And again, some of this is more related if you already have a job and you're looking for your next one. If you're unemployed, some of this is a little bit harder to kind of screen for, I would say, on your end. But if you get red flags where you feel like you can't be your authentic self, the thing is, these employers are trying to be on their best behavior in the interviews because they're trying to recruit you to the company. So if you see some red flags that concern you, it may be something you want to think about whether you actually want to join this company. And here's the thing about interviewing. It is 100% a two-way street. Yes, the company is evaluating candidates. That's their prerogative. They need to do that. They need to find the best candidate. But you also need to find a company that's going to be a fit for you as well. So keep that in mind. There are many types of interview questions. This is not an exhaustive list. I do want to say that, but these are kind of some of the things I typically think about as I interview candidates. The first question I ask in every single interview I do is, what do you know about this company that you're applying to? And again, this is where that research is coming back into play. And again, if you're doing a phone interview, video interview, you can have some notes off to the side. You don't have to memorize anything. If you're in person, obviously you might have to memorize, some high level points. But what do you know about the company? And I'll give you an example. So I have some candidates that say, oh, I applied to your company. It's a tech company. I'm excited about tech. See, I have a laugh in the room. I have a laugh in the room because it's not a good answer. A way better answer is, hey, I looked at your company values, their X, Y, and Z. I was really aligned to them. I saw you won these awards. These are some of the products you sell. Like, this really resonated with me. Those are two drastically different answers. And usually this question comes up at the very beginning of the process. So it sets the tone for the interview. Also, why are you excited about this role? Like, what made you want to apply to this role? Right? And it can't just be because it was on LinkedIn. What's a deeper reason that you're interested? Walk me through your resume. You might get this question. I hate this question. I would never ask it in an interview. I think it's way too broad. Somebody could go on for 40 minutes talking through their resume. Trust me, I've had people go on a long time in some interviews. Usually how I word it is, okay, you have this opportunity, tell me about it. You were at this company, tell me about it. I kind of go sequentially. But if you get this broad question of walking through your resume, start with your most recent role and work your way back from there. If you have been in different fields or different types of roles, maybe say, hey, these roles are going to be the most relevant for this position, so I'm going to go into these. Right? So you kind of have to think about the experience you have, how relevant it is to the role, kind of think it through. Try to add metrics proactively wherever you possibly can. Sometimes recruiters and hiring managers will ask for this, sometimes they won't. So the more you can think about, okay, how many customers did I serve? How many projects did I work on? How much did I sell? The more you can bring these numbers in proactively, I love it. When candidates do that proactively, I'm like, great, this is amazing. You're showing you're proactive and giving me this information. I would say behavioral questions are a mainstay in most interviews now, which is basically tell me about a time when you did X, whatever skill that may be. So this is where your prep is going to come into play. I would really try to think through as many situational answers from your past work experience as much as you can. The worst thing you can say in this situation or for these sorts of questions is, well, here's like a high level answer. No, that is not what recruiters and hiring managers are looking for. They want a specific example, and that is where your prep is going to come into play, right? Again, you can do research online. What are the top soft skills I need for this type of role? And then get an example ready for every single one of those. And then bring high quality questions to the end of the interview. This is so critical to just show your interest and your passion for this opportunity. So again, not great example is, what's the culture like in this company? It's not horrible. There's a way to level that up, which is, hey, I saw on your company website you have this value. Can you give me an example of how that kind of shows up in your company on a day-to-day basis? Drastically different questions. And again, I've said this before, but I want to say it again. You are evaluating the company as well. You should be asking questions about what matters to you. If you care about culture and values, ask questions about it. If you care about the projects I'm going to be working on, ask questions about it. If you care about their leadership style, I mean, I know I personally do. I care about leadership style of who I'm going to report to. Ask about it, right? So you really want to focus on those high quality questions. To close off the interview, you want to thank the interviewer, whoever it is, for their time at the end of the interview. Your last question should always be, what are the next steps and what are the timelines? Always, 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 always. The recruiter may cover that off at the end anyway, but if they don't, you need to ask about it because you want to know, hey, are they going to make a decision in 2 days or 2 weeks? Those are two drastically different timelines. And you also want to know how many interviews are there going to be. Maybe there's 2 interviews, maybe there's 5 interviews. Every company's a little different on how they structure things. Post-interview. So here's the thing. I do think it's important to send a thank you email within the first 24 hours. Decisions likely are not going to be made if you send a thank you email or not, but it is a really nice gesture to send a very quick thank you email. It can be a few paragraphs long. It does not need to be extensive. just to say, hey, thank you for taking the time. I learned a lot more in this conversation. I learned X, Y, and Z. Maybe even more passionate about wanting to join your company. And this just shows a little bit of that initiative, as is our word of the day today, that you're a little bit more passionate about this opportunity. I will tell you, I do a lot of sales hiring specifically. For sales, you 100% must send follow-ups, because again, that's just a part of the sales job. Like if you're not sending follow-ups, probably not amazingly good at sales, for lack of a better word. And then moderate follow-up. So you asked in the last interview about timelines and next steps. Okay, so they said, okay, we're gonna get back to you by Friday. Friday comes and goes, it's now Monday, and you haven't heard anything back from the recruiter. Do not feel bad about following up. Do not feel bad. Please follow up. Recruiters can sometimes be insanely busy. Sometimes we're managing 15, 20, 30 requisitions or roles at any one time. It's a lot of candidates to manage, and sometimes things fall through the cracks. Do not feel bad about following up. If you sent 2 to 3 follow-up emails and you still don't have a response, then unfortunately, that is a response. They're probably not moving forward with you. If you sent 3 emails, they're not getting back to you. But again, you can't control that. All you can do is continue interviewing until you have an offer in hand. So networking is really, really, really important. I put this in because some companies now are not hiring as much as maybe they did, pre-2020. So you always want to be thinking, to be honest, you should be networking when you don't need a job. That's honestly the best way to think about it. You should always be networking. You can network in Toastmasters. You can network through people that you know, maybe get them to introduce you to someone that they know. You can network through church communities, like however you want to network, but really try to do, whether it's in person, online, it doesn't really matter, but you want to build up these networks, like I said, when you don't need a job. Because what's not great, and it happens to me because I work in recruiting, is sometimes people will reach out to me, I don't know them at all, and they'll say, hey, can you refer me to this job, right? That's not building a relationship to maybe where you could ask for a referral, but you want to build those authentic relationships over time so that when you are looking for someone, you could reach out to somebody you know and say, hey, I'm looking for something. Do you know anybody leads? Do you have any opportunities at your company, etc. So you can stay in touch with me here. So I have my LinkedIn here. I'll put in the chat as well, and I'll in person, I'll have my email out if you'd like to reach out to me after as well. But I do actually create some content. I haven't made new videos in a while, but I do actually have created content in the past on TikTok and YouTube, all about trying to get a job. So it's something, again, like I said, I'm really passionate about, to the point that I've created content on it. So we are at the Q&A, and I'm actually going to stop sharing because I want to be able to see people online. Okay, good. Okay, so questions. We have about 10 minutes. That's kind of what I wanted. I know I went through the content a little bit fast, but I did that because I assume some of you have some questions that you might want answered. So if you have a question online, maybe raise your hand. I'll be able to see it. In person, you can raise your hand as well. Obviously, I will see it. Yes, Atafe first.
I have a question.
Sorry, just 1 second. I'm going to go to in person first. Here, just say it and I'll repeat it. And I'll come to you after online.
Sorry about that. I have a question. When you are confronted with what are your salary expectations?
Okay, I'll take this question first and I'll go to you after. Yeah, it's a good question. I probably should have something about salary and compensation, but I'm glad you brought it up. So this is where you also need to do some research. You need to sort of understand what are people paid in the market for this kind of role. I will tell you there are certain provinces and even states in the US where salary transparency is mandated. It's illegal if you don't put it on job postings. It's actually going to be that way in Ontario starting in January of 2026, which is going to be really game changer because they're going to have to put a salary range on postings. But for now, you want to do some research, kind of find a range that you think makes sense. But what I also encourage you to do is you have to have a number in your head with your budgeting of what is the absolute minimum you would accept. And you need to know what that number is going into your first interview with the recruiter, because that's when it's going to come up. It's going to come up with the recruiter. So make sure you have that number in your head, because you need to have that minimum number. Because if they say, let's say you need to have $70,000 and they come to you and say, hey, this role pays $50,000. You just say, hey, thank you for letting me know. I need to withdraw from this process, right? So you need to have that number in your head of what you need to pay your bills and what your expectations are. So it is important to give a range. You can also ask the recruiter and say, hey, what is the salary range? You can put it back on them, but they may not tell you. So you need to come with your own range. That's really the main point. Okay, Attefe in person next, and then we'll go back online. I'm just going to repeat it. I'm going to repeat the question. Yeah. Okay, so the question for those online is basically just like, what if you don't have some of the skill sets that maybe the job description is asking for? Like, how do you address that? So here's the reality. Recruiters do scan resumes pretty quickly. I didn't really talk about that a lot in this interview, but you've probably heard a stat that recruiters scan resumes in 10 seconds. It is true. We have a lot of resumes to review for the roles we're hiring for. So I would say, as a general rule, if you really don't hit what we think we need for the job, you probably won't get contacted, like as a basic level. If you get contacted for an interview, then they saw something in your background and resume, right? So I think you have to kind of have that confidence of, hey, they would never have reached out to me if they didn't think I could do this role. So then you want to start thinking about your transferable skills. What can I bring to this role? Maybe I don't have the exact experience you're looking for, but I have X, Y, and Z, right? Like, again, like I told you, I've brought up Toastmasters volunteer leadership roles in interviews. Maybe I didn't have the exact experience in my working life, but maybe I had that within Toastmasters. So again, think about volunteer opportunities as well. So yeah, I would say be prepared to address those sort of questions. If they have certain requirements on the job description, be prepared to address it. But yeah, great question. I see Yash online. Feel free to just unmute and then.
Hi. Just to give you some context, I'm from last 1 year, I'm looking for a job, and so far I have given more than 10 interviews. In the couple of few interviews, I used to just get rejection from the HR or from the hiring manager, but I'm really trying to improve myself. And what I've seen from my past pre-rejection is they are actually considering me, but I am not their first choice. So for instance, there was an interview that I gave, and actually after the interview, the HR personally called me and said, hey, your interview was very good, but at this time we went forward with another candidate, but we'll keep you in mind. If there any opportunity comes, make sure to contact me. And there was another opportunity, and the company was actually in Liberty Village. The name of the company was Gale Partners. So after the interview, the HR again reached out to me and said, hey, your interview was good. We just found someone with more experience. So at this point, like, I'm really confused on what to do and how to move forward, how to just make sure that I get the job and I am the first choice.
Okay, I'll be honest, it was a little bit hard to hear some of that. I heard a bit of the end of it, which is you got, I'm assuming you didn't get a job because they said that you didn't have enough experience. Did I hear that right? Oh, so, internal.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll try to answer some of that. Okay, so here's what I'd say. If let's say you interview for a job and you don't get it, you can ask for feedback. Absolutely, 100% ask for feedback. It sounds like you got some feedback, which is great. Some feedback you're gonna be able to action and do something about. Other feedback you can do nothing about. And here's the thing, like, I will tell you right now, I see it with candidates that I'm, let's say, getting to final round interviews. They're all qualified. They're all qualified. So sometimes it will come down to somebody else being more qualified than you on paper. Maybe they're a stronger fit with the team, all these different things. So again, with job interviews, applying, all that sort of stuff, focus on what you can control, right? And all you can control is selling yourself in the interview process, selling your skill sets for the position, but you can't really, you can't control anyone else in the process. So it's hard feedback to get, but I think what that means is like you did a good job in the interview. Like that's what it's, in my opinion, that's what it's saying. So, yeah, I think we have a few minutes, so I'll take a question in person. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, yes. So, okay, the question was kind of like, how do you understand what an employer is actually looking for? Again, it may not always match up with what's on the job description, right? So I have absolutely had candidates reach out to me, or not reach out to me. At the end of the interview, they have said, okay, what is this hiring manager really looking for? Like, what are the skills that they're looking for? And just ask. Like, I've told many candidates, hey, this is what they're looking for, right? Because yeah, why not? Why not ask the question? Why not just say, hey, like this is, because I think you want to be specific. Like you want to ask, what is this hiring manager looking for? Because I will tell you right now, I hire for a lot of sales roles. Every sales manager wants something different. So even though a job description could be identical, they're all looking for something slightly different. So you do want to understand, okay, what is this person looking for? So yeah, why not? Ask the question. You can even ask the hiring manager that question. And then yes, again, I think it's better the earlier you ask it in the process, because then you can maybe tailor your answers accordingly in future interviews if you do move that far. So yeah, why not? Okay, I think we have time for one more question. So I will take the last question online and then we'll wrap up. Dipankar?
Yes. So someone like me who is still not getting interview calls and I'm applying actively, I have some questions regarding my resume shortlisting. And
Yep.
One of them is I read a lot about this ATS thing that so how about this ATS friendly resume, is it all about that we have to keep changing a resume for each job description and focus on the keywords? Does that matter a lot? Or another question is that since I am in the early phase of my career, is it a strict no to have a 2-page resume instead of one? If I want to add more about my projects, and I have done many projects but not much experience in that case.
Yeah, good question. So 2-page resume is fine. Like I actually get this question a lot and it kind of boggles my mind. The only time I really see 1-page resumes is like totally new grads with like next to zero experience. They can fit it on 1 page, that's fine. 99% of resumes I see are 2 pages. Actually, some are longer if somebody has 20 years of experience, but 2 pages is fine. 2 pages is totally fine. The ATS question you asked, so here's the thing, there are, like AI is advancing. I am confident there are companies that are using AI tools to screen resumes to some degree. I do not have direct experience with that. I will say from the experience I have recruiting for SoftChoice, which is the company I work for, we do not use any tools to screen out resumes based on keywords. I review manually every single resume. There is a way that, and you may have seen these questions on applications where it's like, do you have X experience with this or something like that? Or are you bilingual, or kind of a question? And what I like to call those is like knockout questions. I do use them sometimes for my roles. For example, I'm hiring for a role right now in Montreal, and I have a question of, are you fully bilingual in English and French? And if they say no, it does auto disqualify them. But here's the thing. If they say no, they don't qualify for the job. So I'm trying to save myself a little bit of time. So there are questions like that, 100%, that recruiters can use. If it's a hard requirement for the job where they absolutely have to have it, then sometimes you may see questions like that where it could auto disqualify you. But I would say for the most part, in my experience, I'm only giving my experience, That's what I've seen. So hopefully that's helpful. I know we're at time. I want to wrap up. What I'm going to say is, again, I'm going to give out my email address to people online and in the room. I do actually offer career coaching as well. So kind of one-on-one career coaching. If you want to go more in depth and have more one-on-one with me and dive into this a bit deeper, I'm happy to do that. I do offer some services, whether it's a mock interview or just kind of an open session. So I'll leave my contact information for that. But thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate the engagement, and I'm going to pass it back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for giving up your time, your very valuable time, to inform us all about the requirements for interview before and after, what is required about us, and being able to answer our guest question. Thank you so much.